Hey guys, so recently I provided a Cyber Dragon deck profile featuring the Sky Striker engine as well as, of course, Duality from Battles of Legends. And, the deck is really fun to play, especially thanks to Duality, which really opens a lot of lines up for this deck. And so you can certainly check my older video in terms of the deck profile, but I'll also provide a new deck profile, maybe a week or so that it's modified for post-DUNE or Duelist Nexus that's coming soon. So I thought I'd take the time to show you some replays and show you how to play the deck, so let's just get started. Alright, so we're going to start off the replays with Labrynth, and I guess featuring some Vanquish Soul cards. I don't think that's very normal. I certainly have not seen that yet. Certainly let me know if you've seen those before. So we're going to start with the Ariane, or rather Ariana. Have the big welcome, and then also have the Lady Labrynth. You can also set it, or rather activate it this turn because of the cool clock, and it also sets the welcome Labrynth. This one definitely is not normal though. Ariane, I'm pretty sure most Labrynth lists do not play this one. The Stovey can also special. This adds a nice little pop effect. I think this was post-side, that's why he made Baguska, but at the same time, against Cyber Giant's not really great. I do have Jamming Wave, but I decided, you know what, just to use the Lightning Storm, just to get rid of that as well. Sometimes, you know what, Sky Striker cards can be a nice little trade-off, but sometimes you don't really need them. We're going to go into Anima first. Try to go through, suck that up so we can attack with Baguska. Of course, it does get bounced, but you know what, we can actually summon this, and it's a machine, so it's funny, we can actually go into Seagull with Cyber Giant. So we do have at least a body to be able to get over the Baguska. Unfortunately, we cannot actually kill them this turn, but we do have Feather Duster. We have some good follow-up. We also have Jamming Waves worst case as well, and Duality plus Cyber Dragon is pretty good combo. So he's gonna have the Mad Love, also the spell to be able to special from the grave. Now you have the Heavy Burger, which allows them to draw a card. Gets into Stake Your Soul, not bad actually. Muckracker, go into Ariana, and then get the Welcome Labrynth, Lady Labrynth. So putting out a lot of bodies. Lovely is nice because it can always pop, and I guess they're trying to pop the Seeger just because it can pump itself to 42, which is kind of a high attack, particularly for this deck. And then so now you have Lady, or rather Lovely, popping a card, can also set another trap, does need to have a Fiend to be able to activate it. Chaos Angel can banish as well. Fortunately, I'm not dead, and that's kind of all you need in this game. So we do have Feather Duster for a pretty good clapback here, and Core is a very nice draw. So again, we unfortunately don't really get the chance to show you the striker cards in action, but you know what, Feather Duster really strong, so he's going to be able to trigger a couple effects here, or rather few effects. They are pretty recursive, and so now we have Cyber Dragon core effect, and so we can add the Rev system. Duality will go into Rampage. And then Duality has draw effect, which is really nice. So I'm going to pause here. Thrust normally is very nice, right? Like I would normally have the Regeki and it would just be a very easy game, except it turns out I cited it out. So we have to sort of have a more convoluted way to try to win this thing. So we're going to go into Rev system, bring in the Seeger. It also cannot be destroyed by card effects now. So unfortunately we have to add Overload Fusion instead because we cited out the Regeki. So here I'm going to make another quick comment. Even though there's two Rampages, it's actually quite important which one you detach for cost, because one was properly summoned through Overload Fusion, the other one was not properly Fusion summoned because it was through Duality, which means you cannot revive it with Naxxter, and especially when it comes to online simulators, you have to make sure you choose the right one, because IRL play, you could probably just get away with, just saying it's the one that you properly summoned. So we're going to bring it back with the Naxxter. Now we can start cracking boards here. We have to go into Fortress just so we have enough attack. The math, again, can be a little bit too much for me sometimes. So we're going to do a ton of damage here, and we're going to have just enough damage to go for game, and so we'll just have another match against Labrynth. Alright, so let's go against this Labrynth player yet again, and so we're of course going second. This is a blind second deck. Against Labrynth, I'm going to be honest, this particular list, Cyber Dragons in general, we play a lot of spells, but now that I'm playing also striker cards, like, it really dies hard to eradicate her, and I'm trying to figure out if there's any way to kind of mitigate that, but I'm not really sure if there is. I think we just have to hope that it gets banned, and hopefully it does. And so Regeki, again, I think this was actually game 1. I'm kind of showing in backwards order, so we're going to try to trigger, or rather, kind of bait the monster effect so we can get the talents live. He's going to get the card back to hand, and we're going to start off with the Soldier Hearse play here. We do have to try to get some of these back rows and to just see what they're made of. So we're going to try to go for the Nova line first, go and special the Cyber Dragon, and then somehow we made it this far. We have a negate now, and we also have Fortress. So we're of course going to at least negate that, because otherwise we just cannot attack over any bodies. We're going to have to go into Fortress and Infinity, and the Duality, when it works really well, and this can attack essentially 2 more times with pumped up by Clockwork. Pretty good. Alright, now let's move on to Swordsoul, which has sort of fallen off a little bit in terms of competitive success, like let's say Nats, NAWCQ rather. I don't think it had any tops. Still, at least from a rogue perspective, kind of weird to say it's rogue again, but it's definitely solid, and cost efficiency wise, again, quite good. Pretty standard in terms of their combo lines, and then, you know, being able to have Ashe and Nib on top of, you know, something like Barone and the Chi-Shao as well as the Blackout pops, not too bad, and it's quite consistent, and you also get the burn for 12. So again, unfortunately, we don't get to really show the striker cards much in action. I actually decided, I was really thinking hard between which one do you want live, whether Lightning Storm or Clockwork Knight. Ultimately, I decided Clockwork. So here he does, he's forced to negate with the Barone. We're trying to engage, of course, gets baited by, or rather hit by Ashe, and at least Sky Striker cards that can definitely, again, it's a very good trade-off and can at least bait out a lot of interruptions. We're going to have a big chunky. He did make a mistake here. I should pause here. Basically, he should have negated the Hers summon with Chi-Shao so that it's no longer considered a Cyber Dragon, because unlike Mega Fleet, Fortress does require the original Cyber Dragon, so our Hers, the effect has to be active. I think it might have also been a more so result of EDO Pro just not letting you prompt the negate on the summon. So, you know, let's give our opponent some slack here. But, you know, the Cyber Twin attacking twice again under Clockwork, pretty strong. Okay, so moving on, I believe this was the game 3 against the same Swordsoul player. We are citing in Cosmic Cyclone, especially when your deck that can hard loose the anti-spell fragments. You already know Swordsoul is going to side anti-spell, so you always have to put it in. And that's one of the reasons why it's in my side, and I kind of prioritize it over Evenly. Although Evenly can also take care of things, but if they keep anti-spell, you know, it's kind of hard for you. So the typical Chi-Shao, Moyi, draw and search, the Longyeon as well to get you to that Barone. Again, the combos are pretty standard, and it's not too much, but it's at least very consistent. So, you know, I made it to main phase, so I knew it wasn't anti-spell anymore, but you know what, might as well just get rid of everything. He gets a token, big whoop, doesn't matter, and this was most likely Imperm, or actually usually this Heavenly Circle. So now he's forced to negate that, of course, and so we're pretty good here. Double Machine Dupe is pretty nice. Of course, usually your hands are not this optimal, but this is pretty nice. We are going to trigger the Hers. We're going to, of course, use the Nova effect. Honestly, all that mattered was just detach for cost, so we can get Overload Fusion live, and now we can go Anima, suck up the Barone, and then we also have Overload Fusion, and we can also suck up the Chi-Shao with the Infinity, and that is game right there. So next we're moving on to Traptrix, and unfortunately our opponent just did not open very well, like double Ashe Talons. So really just Sarah passed one, and pretty bad. So here we're gonna go with we're gonna try to see what they have. Unfortunately, it does get hit with the Machine Dupe, but Thrust is nice. But just remember, you do need your opponent to have a monster if you want to actually add that card to your hand. Otherwise, you have to set it and cannot use it. So it's really important to sequence it properly. We're gonna go into Machine Dupe, right? He's gonna go into the Terrifying, which pops the Nova, which means it triggers Nova, brings out Rampage. So we have like ways to OTK still. Hers, we'll just add anything, and we can go Naxxter, Pitch, and then Naxxter will just pump Pitch to Nova, and that already is game now, even without Duality. So obviously we can't get off that easy, and this is, I believe, game 2 or 3 against the Traptrix player. Has a better opening hand now, at least. Purika Summon has the field spell for the additional normal summon. Sarah and Parallel Exceed's always pretty nice as well. So it's kind of like your full combo for Traptrix. Really seeing a lot of decline in play. Definitely when the structure deck first came out, this deck was seeing so much play online. At one point it was actually, the second was played back online. Also gets to set the Travel Nightmare. Holotea, this is a very nice new card for them. Not only can they actually trigger a trap on their own turn 1, but, you know, just being able to set it back. It's kind of nice. And this card is also another new nice addition because it can protect something from like Harpy's Feather Duster or Lightning Storm. Just being able to protect that back row is always kind of nice. So we have Thrust again, very nice to see. We're going to have Clockwork, kind of see if we can bait anything out, see what all the back rows are. We're going to go with the core effect, of course. Now we are booked, which isn't terrible. We can still Contact Fuse for Mega Fleet at least, just not into Fortress Dragon. Again, it has to be original Cyber Dragon. We're going to go with Thrust, add Harpies, but we can't use it yet because this is going to protect. He's going to try to pop. We're going to go Chain, Duality, and go into Eternity, which is always kind of nice. And then now we're going to try to do kind of like our typical Cyber Dragon combos. Again, we're going to have to save that Duster until we can get rid of this card. I honestly just got it just for the sake of, like, in case I can't make it through an OTK, I need to at least get rid of those for future turns for the grind. Unfortunately, it's going to get with Nightmare, but you know what? It's actually kind of fine. Again, Nova triggers. Even though she gets attached to Nova, we still get access to Rampage. The Duality draw is always kind of nice. And the emergency draw was very clutch because now we have a body to pitch for the Naxxter, and we can just Contact Use everything away. Plus the Duster, and just super game. So that was really funny. So next, it was against Dragon Link that somehow made me go first. Again, at this point, I actually didn't know what he was playing, so I also just passed because I thought maybe it was Sky Striker. Fortunately, he also passes, so you know, at this point, I still don't know what deck he's playing. So we're gonna go hers next, rather Galaxy Soldier. Because he put out Serenir, I actually thought maybe it was branded. If it was any other Bishows, then you would assume Dragon Link, but you know what, they brick plus, you know, just Serenir. I thought maybe it was branded, so that's why, you know, try to go with these plays. We're gonna just block, negate that with Infinity, and now Duality gets us to Rampage, and then that Ash is actually pretty huge, so we have to kind of think of different ways to OTK here. And again, if I knew it was Dragon Link, I might not have gone for this play, because if they had, you know, then I would know they play a lot of Bishows, and it would just really interrupt this line of play. But you know what? At this point, I thought it was maybe branded, so I decided to take the chance at the OTK. Of course, this can only attack once because it got ashed, but Nova can actually pump itself to 42, which is an effect that you don't really use too much, but nowadays, you know, with this build in particular, you're trying to OTK a lot, so it does come up quite a bit. So now, unfortunately, I'm not really able to show, you know, the power of the Sky Striker cards with all these replays. Unfortunately, I just couldn't get any replays where they came up, and it was also an entertaining replay. But, you know, I assure you it can definitely be really good. And again, it just trades really nicely for at least just kind of like a one-on-one trade-off, whether Engage gets Ash, or, you know, you can always search for like Afterburner or, you know, Jamming Wave, just whatever you need, or Widow Anchor, and it just always like baits out a negate and then makes your thrust or talents live as well. So it's kind of nice. This is against DDD, which of course has definitely fallen off a cliff. I believe it had at least a YCS top or so when this card first kind of came out, which was nice new support, but that's already been a quick, you know, maybe even 2 years at this point. This is the spell trap negate, so again, at least in this instance, this can help us bait that out and just get that out of the way. Sky Striker cards can be really nice if you have engaged, and being able to draw is always nice. So this is going to be a very quick one. Talents, you know, being able to just have that life thanks to, again, the striker cards, it can really be game, especially with either talents or thrust. You know, your opponent's just going to give up here. We have plenty of ways to OTK with this hand. So this is honestly not too interesting of a replay, but again, I try to, or at least I'm trying to show, you know, like the potential of the striker cards. This guy just ends up scooping, but you know, I'll at least show you. Basically, he's gonna go with like typical Vanquish Soul route. Just set 2, has a draw as well, which is kind of nice. So you know, in a hand like this where you have a lot of spells, you can definitely get engaged live and just get that, not only the search but also the additional draw effect. And then on top of that, with Kagari, you can just do that again, which is like absolutely insane. And so unfortunately, he just kind of scoops here. But I would have been curious, you know, you add something like Horner Thrones, for example. You draw a card, go Kagari, add engage. Engage, add like, let's say, Widow Anchor, draw another card. And while in this hand we didn't really have much in terms of actual Cyber Dragon plays, with those 2 additional draws, perhaps we could have at least had something and get things going. Now, of course, you know, these replays, I certainly don't want to mislead you. This deck is still very, very rogue, and no matter what, you know, a lot of instances you're going to have, like a lot of games where you're going to struggle and just not be able to do well, where you don't draw well, or even if you do, you know, it's a going second deck, and a lot of times, you know, in today's game, it can be very, very hard when your opponent can set up something very, very oppressive. You know, this is against Dinomorphia. It's pretty funny anytime you go against this deck, because they'll have like 100 life points, and you'll still end up losing. So this guy basically copies the trap effect, and this essentially kind of serves as a Mystic Mine. This is a pretty nice pop. This is one of the newer cards, I believe, and it does stop me from contact fusing here. We do at least have talents live, and again, this time the Hornet Drones or the striker cards in general didn't really come up, and I decided to prioritize Cyber Dragon instead. The talents got negated, so at this point, originally I wanted to take so that I can attack over and crash. Now that he has Solemn Judgment and this guy's stronger now, and even if I were to take this, it would actually be like 500 attack, I guess, or rather whatever his attack would be based on like your life points. So I decided to draw 2 instead, and this actually ended up being a really good draw, potentially. Just kind of depended on those other 2 sets. So I'll sort of tell you what my line of thinking was. Unfortunately, it gets negated here, so we kind of just straight up lose. But basically, let's say if, you know, Core's effect did go through. So, you know, kind of think about what you would do. What I would have done is add Repair Plant. You would link off into Homage, get that Cyber Dragon Core Engrave, activate the Repair Plant, add a Jizukuru, then you can just plop that over this. So now you can actually start activating effects. So now at that point, you know, you don't even care about the Jizukuru. So now at that point, you would go Duality, go into Rampage using the Cyber Dragon, send hers, send Naxxer. Hers will trigger, add Naxxer back to hand. You would pitch in Cyber Dragon, summon the Naxxer, and then Naxxer bring back, you know, Cyber Dragon, go into Seeger, and now you have a 4200 attack Seeger that can just attack over, you know, like the Jizukuru you give to your opponent, this guy, and then that would just be game. Okay, so that was it for the Cyber Dragon replays. Hopefully you found that entertaining, and hopefully you learned a thing or two in terms of playing Cyber Dragons. And so definitely, stay tuned. I'll bring a more updated deck profile video with the Cyber Dragon post Dune, and I'll certainly have, I believe at that point, I should have all of these cards in physical play. So certainly excited to show that off. And so, well, thanks for watching. Big thanks to all my patrons as usual for their continued support, and well, take care, guys.